Hey y'all, Troy Mosby here with Camp Broadside. Thank you for tuning back in. Um, Glad you all tuned in last week and checked out that episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Petey had quite the story and quite the excitement, and it was super cool to hear his story. And This week we got on Robert Goodwin. I met Robert in KC area saddle hunter group I run. So he's a local guy, and I thought that was super cool when Robert, when you posted your picture on there of your buck, and I was like, man, we gotta get this guy on here and talk to him and hear what happened with this big buck he got. So thanks for joining us, Robert. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm great. I appreciate the invite. Looking forward to talking some deer hunting.
Yeah, buddy. That's what we love to do here. So it's definitely nice to talk to some local people, that is in the same area to where you have some similar experiences and whatnot. So that's
Yeah,
kind of cool, man. So without further ado, Robert, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit who you are and kind of how you got into hunting, buddy.
I can do that. As you've already introduced me, Robert Goodwin. I've been bow hunting almost 35 years now. Started when I
Nice.
was just a youngster, and I I don't remember my dad going hunting before I went with him, but I'm sure he did. He started taking me just out in the woods, rabbit and squirrel hunting with him when I was probably about 5, and I don't remember going again until roughly 10 or 12. We started squirrel hunting again. I got a shotgun for my birthday, and we were off to the races from there. Um,
Yeah.
he wasn't a diehard bow hunter. He just it was a means to get back into the woods, for some more time. And we kind of started learning together, really. Um, I think he hunted probably 3 years archery before I started, and I had my first buck encounter when I was 16, and turned into a 5 foot tall bowl of jelly right there in the woods. Couldn't hold himself together, and I've been hooked on it ever since.
Yeah, it's easy to get addicted, isn't it, man? Once
Oh
you get
yeah,
that feeling.
yeah, the buck fever's real.
Yeah. That's kind of how I got into it. We had rifle hunted and whatnot, me and my stepdad, and I remember looking at the Missouri handbook one time, and I was like, man, archery season opens up September. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why are we not hunting? We could be
Why,
out in the woods.
why are we
So
waiting till the end of the year? Let's go.
yeah, so we're like, man, let's just start bow hunting. We didn't have a clue what we was doing, but
Yeah.
we ended up buying bows, and away we went and took off into it. And I
Yeah.
stuck with it. He did it couple years, and I think he backed out of it, and I just kept doing it because I just loved it, man. I loved that feeling of getting them that close, and just that adrenaline and excitement. And I was like, man, there's nothing
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
I've done it ever since. So,
Yeah. We're spoiled today with all our information right at our fingertips. I mean,
oh, man.
when I started, if you wanted to learn something, you went out there and you started tinkering.
Yeah, that's the way I was.
Yeah, everybody.
Thankfully, I had a good buddy that had been bow hunting, so he had a little shop in his basement and stuff. So he kind of brought me in and taught me about paper tuning and whatnot, and doing all this different stuff, which I'd have never known nothing about.
Yeah.
And so, but it was really cool to learn. But like you said, it's nice to have all that info at our fingertips now.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's
It's
definitely helpful.
the learning curve is not near what it used to be.
No, sir. No, sir. So, what type of gear do you use, Robert?
So at the moment, I hunt out of a CGM Cobra saddle. Normally, I carry some Lone Wolf sticks, full size. Normally, I did cut some down and mod them. I kind of like that a little better if I'm going in somewhere that's a little more brushy. I can't stand getting hung up on every limb you go by. And I do add the cableator at the bottom. Definitely helps get you up there a little bit. I am definitely not a 20-foot high uh, club member. You certainly don't have to do that most of the time.
Right.
I just get up high enough. I would almost venture to guess I've killed more deer below 15 feet than above.
No kidding.
It's all about a lot of it's just getting out of their line of sight.
Yeah.
If you set up on top of them, it's tough to avoid them. You
Yes,
know, and,
sir. I like to find. I'm one of the 20-foot guys. I like to get up there unless there's good cover below that.
yeah,
Obviously, I'll get in that good cover area if it's 10 feet, 15 feet off the ground, then
yeah,
that's where I'm gonna be. But otherwise, I'll be up there in that 20-foot range. And I don't know. I was taught years ago, or at least I was told years ago, I should say, not taught, but that for years when I was hunting, I smoked cigarettes, and I
hmm,
don't do it no more. But I was always told, hey, if you can get up 15, 20 feet up in the air, you're above their scent zone. They're not going to smell you. Well, I don't know necessarily that I believe that now, but I do keep in mind I always get up 20 foot. Not that I smoke anymore, but I
yeah,
still feel like, hey, if I can get up there and I'm a little more out of their scent zone, then that's better for me, I guess.
yeah.
But
There's definitely some advantages to getting high sometimes, for
yes,
sure.
sir, yes, sir. That custom gear Cobra saddle, that's a nice saddle. Oh, Jerry, he does a good job on his saddles. He makes them pretty dang comfortable, don't he?
It is. It is. It's a pretty good saddle. Especially I started out with an old trophy line, which at the time that was all there was. There was that, and there was this thing called a sneaky sack that didn't never really got any traction. That may have actually been one of the first ones. I kind of graduated from that into a DIY saddle that honestly I'd probably still be using had it not started to fall apart.
No kidding. And
Yeah,
we talked earlier. How long did you say you've been saddle hunting?
I would say I'm in the 12 to 15 year range. Before it
Ah,
was cool for sure.
yeah,
I had used lock-ons, for a while, and went to a climber, liked that, but lugging that 20, 25 pounds around gets old, especially
sure
when you
does.
start killing stuff on the regular. So I just, I seen it, I picked it up, and absolutely hated it the first time I got in a tree with it. But I seen the potential, and I just told myself, you can get into some stuff with this that you would never get in with a tree stand. And I,
Yeah,
I made myself use it, and I'm glad I did. It's,
yeah.
it's, yeah, I haven't been in I have one tree I hunt out of a climber now just because it's close to the road and I can leave it right there and I'm up and done. It's my
It's
lazy tree.
convenient. Convenient. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got one of those too that I really enjoy that it's one of those mornings where I'm feeling kind of lazy or whatever. I'll go hop in that tree. A couple years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago actually, I still had a ladder stand up and I would leave it up for if one of my kids wanted to hunt in it or if I had a buddy that wanted to hunt in it, I had a place for him to go because I'm the only one that saddle hunted, at least at that time. And so one morning I woke up and I woke up late to get to my other spot. And so I was like, you know what? I got that ladder stand out there. I'll just go jump in that and hunt there this morning. Well, I did. And there wasn't a lot of cover around me. I was kind of out in the open and I had 4 deer coming up on my right. Of course, my bow's on my left, so I could grab it with my left arm.
yeah,
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can't even move because if I move, I'm gonna get busted quick.
yeah,
And so I'm like watching these deer and they're coming through and I'm like, I can't even move. And I'm like, if I was in my saddle, I could be on the other side of this tree, you know what
yeah,
I mean? I could be drawn back.
yeah.
They
We'd
wouldn't
have a
have a
different
clue I'm
story right
here.
now.
Yeah, and so then after that morning, I've never hunted in a. I actually sold that ladder stand. I've never hunted in any type of stand again, and I'm just like I'm a saddle hunter through and through now. I'm
Yeah,
addicted, but you've been doing it a long time. You've been, like you said, you've been doing it since before it was cool. So that's kind of cool that you've been doing it that long. You got some good experiences.
yeah.
Um, what platform do you use?
So I actually bought my first platform this year. I couldn't even. I think it's a cruiser actually, and I haven't even hunted out of it. Uh, I normally use a ring of steps,
I got you.
and done that for decades, long enough. I've got some foot issues over it, and it was time to change. I bought a one stick. Did Probably 3 years ago. Didn't really care for it, and again, kind of like the saddle, I thought to myself, I really need to make that work because that's a lot less stuff to carry.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
hunted with it more than uh, I bought another one last year. Hunted, I don't know, 6, 7 times with it. Started to get pretty comfortable with it, but it's a lot like the saddle. You got to spend a little bit of time with it in the off season, messing with it, and I think you'd be much better off that way.
Yeah,
Definitely see
for
the
sure.
merits in it.
Figuring out what angle and stuff works for you
Yeah,
and where you like to be on it and whatnot. And there's so many different platforms. I got a buddy that he's a diehard. He likes the big platforms. You know, he wants as much room as he can. I'm more of a smaller platform guy, at least for my mobile setup. I will kind of want to be close to the tree and whatnot. So I
yeah,
feel like the smaller platforms allow me to do that more so because I always spend my time on the edge.
yeah,
Very rarely am I just
yeah,
standing in the center of it. So for me, a smaller one is better for to get on that edge and still be close to the tree, whatnot. But
yeah.
Cruiser make some. Do you have the one? I guess all his have the slant on the front of it. I
Maybe
can't think.
mine slanted for sure,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
forget what he
definitely
calls it.
pretty comfy.
Yeah, it is. He makes good platforms or whatever. I'm just like Jerry makes a great saddle. I love Jerry's a great guy and I love his saddles, honestly, but I'm that Buzzard Roost guy, man. I haven't been,
Yeah,
I think that's the most comfortable saddle you can get into and I haven't found any that has lured me away from that thought anyway as of yet. So
I'm
I'm
gonna have
sticking with my old Buzzard Roost.
yeah, I'm gonna have Benny bring me one to the meetup this year. I'm probably gonna buy one.
Okay, so you're going to be there then at the
Oh
was
yeah,
that May 17th? We're going to meet up there, and anybody listening, if you're in the Kansas City area anywhere, or I mean, you could be not even be close to here. We're doing a saddle hunters get together in Platte City, Missouri, May 17th. Hit me up if you want more details on that. But Buzzard Roost will be there to join us and give everybody a chance to try it out. And it's a cool get together. Everybody brings their gear, try out each other's saddles and climbing methods and platforms. And it's just a good time, good excuse to get together. And there's an archery range there. You can shoot your bow and whatnot. But if you can make it, it's a good time. And y'all definitely should try to make it. But yeah, hopefully you'll buy one of them Buzzard Roosts, and I think you'll really like it for sure. And if you want to get together before then, I'm more than happy to let you try mine out. You know what I mean? You can check it out and see what you think of it. And
yeah. I'd go for that.
yeah,
And anybody that hasn't been, I think you told me Benny was going to be there. I don't know that you could meet a nicer guy.
man, that
He will,
guy's
with the knowledge he has. If you ask him, he's ready to share it. He's
yep,
probably climbed a tree every way known to man. He can tell you all
yeah.
about it. And
Dude, he told me you reminded me of that when you was talking about your DIY saddle or whatever. One of the meetups we had here a couple years ago, Benny was there, and he brought his original saddle that he hunted out of
mhm.
because, and it was before you. I don't know if Trophy Line was around then or whatever. He may have seen him and just been like, I think I can make my own. But he brought it with him to this get together, and if I when I talk to him, I might ask him if he'll bring it again. It's so cool, man. It's like paracord or whatever, and
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, it's totally different, obviously, than what we have today. But I'm like, dang, that's pretty innovative that you come up with this on your own and did
yeah,
this. That's pretty cool stuff. But You're right. Benny's a great guy. Anthony, his partner there, that's another great dude, man. All them guys over there at Buzzard Roost are just great guys, and they build a great product. And so I always push it, but like, hey, you got to check out a Buzzard Roost. You know, there's a lot of good saddles. That Cobra's a great saddle. Cruiser makes a good saddle. I mean, there's a lot of good companies. Latitude. I mean, there's tons of them, but
Yeah.
some that Buzzard Roost, the way you can adjust that is totally different from any of them, and I personally think, man, you just can't get a more comfortable saddle. But yeah, so he'll be here, and he'll be excited to. I think he'll bring a few saddles on, have them on hand just in case people are wanting to buy a couple of them here or there. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to hanging out with Benny. Last time they were here, we had a get together at my house that evening, and man, that him and Anthony and Jacob, the guy that makes the I can't think of Jacob's last name at the moment, but he makes the saddle eye. It's kind of the phone holder that hooks
Mm.
onto your bridge for your
Yep.
to record stuff. Anyway, he was here, and he's the he does a lot of crabbing and crawfish collecting when that's what he does for a living.
Oh,
And
okay.
so they brought up like 100 pounds of these crawdads, man.
He's good guys to
It's
know.
Oh, dude, they know what they're doing, and my wife loves crawfish, so we eat them all the time. You know, not all the time. I'm gonna say 2 or 3 times a year. Every Mother's Day, we have a crawfish boil, whatnot, and these guys come up. I think I know what I'm doing. You know, no, I don't know that Louisiana way. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's a
And they showed
lifestyle out
me, and
there.
I learned some stuff. I even learned even more better how to eat them. You know, and I was like, oh, this is great. You know, so. I'm hoping maybe we could talk him into bringing a couple pounds of them crawfish up with him again. If you're listening, you guys might think about that. But anyway, that's a good time. But enough about that. I think what we brought you on to talk about was that hammer of a buck right there, buddy.
Yeah,
That's a nice one.
he's pretty nice. He put the quarter in the jukebox and he got to play.
Yeah, I was
He,
like, I was looking at it, and I hope it shows up good on me. But great shot. You know what I mean? That's a great shot placement. What broadhead was you using?
I shot him with an 85 grain Thunderhead.
Thunderhead, the old Thunderheads.
Yeah, I'm kind of old school on stuff.
Yeah, I was just telling I was up at Rogers archery shop,
Hmm.
and I was telling Zach up there we were talking about just old school stuff, and I
Oh
said,
yeah,
man, I was digging in a drawer, and I've got several unused 100 grain Thunderheads in there, and I said that's what I started out with
yeah,
was Thunderheads, so that's kind of cool that you got him with that.
yeah. It's I killed my this buck over my shoulder here. I killed him with almost the exact same shot with a Thunderhead. That was my first big deer, and I've I don't know. I've probably shot 25, 30 deer with Thunderheads,
No kidding.
and I've never had a bad blood trail ever. Whether it was a high exit, whether it was a little back, the blades are always sharp. I've I know they had a few issues a few years ago when they switched hands. I'd heard I didn't get any of those broadheads, and I'm sure I've got more originals than the new owners. But
Right.
they fly good. They're sharp. I like at least a 3 blade head on a fixed head, and you just can't hardly go wrong with them. And
They're
they're
good size too.
yeah, and they're readily available, which is
Yeah.
something I'm kind of I don't necessarily want to have to hop online to buy one. If I can pick one up when I'm at the store, that's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, tell us a little bit about this buck. Did you have any history with him? Was he a surprise?
So
I don't know if you
this
run cameras or not. Or
I am anti-camera. If someone wants to use that for themselves, that's fine. I try to keep it. I mean, I won't say it's not fair chase. I'll say it's not fair chase for me. I just feel like if you go out and litter the woods with cameras and you don't kill one, I don't think I'd tell anybody. And that's just me.
yeah,
I like the element of Christmas sometimes. You never know what you're going to see.
yeah,
But
100,000%. I'm the same way. couple years ago, I actually talked about it on the last episode, but a couple years ago, I started hearing that if you look at your pictures from these cameras, you have a big buck come in or whatever, they're always looking right at the camera when they
They are.
take the picture. So that tells me they know that camera's there. And so then this article I was reading was talking about how these mature bucks, they're going to vacate the area. They ain't coming back, you know. And so
Yeah.
that, and just I'm like you, I like that element of surprise. I know there's good deer in these woods, and probably a lot of woods you go into, there's good deer in there.
Yeah.
But when that sucker comes walking out, then you have to make a game time decision. And am I taking this one? Am I waiting on another one? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And then when you get a good one like this sucker here, then you're like, "Whoo, boy! I had no idea he was here, man. That's some
Yeah.
excitement right there."
Yeah. And something I'm a big believer in, especially for mature deer, and it doesn't matter if it's a buck or a doe. If it's not a positive, it is a negative, and they will remember that.
Yeah,
They do
true
not,
story. Yeah,
they don't like the little clicky sounds. They don't like the infrared camera. Will they tolerate it sometimes? Sure they will. And each deer is an individual, but there aren't very many dumb ones that live to be 6, 7, 8 years old. It it,
right. You're right
it just
about
doesn't
that.
happen. Not in today's
Yeah.
woods.
Yeah, you're right. Like I said, every picture you see, there's usually a deer looking right at that camera. So
Yeah.
they're hearing it, they're seeing it. You know, it's got to be like you said. It's not normal in the woods. They don't normally see it. So there's got to be some type of sound, light, there's something that gets their attention about that camera, and it may just be that camera being there. I guess you know. But like you said, they'll put it in the memory bank and they'll avoid. I think they'll avoid that area sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But
They'll sometimes just avoid walking in front of it anymore.
yeah,
I have a nephew that runs a lot of cameras still, and he gets a lot of great pictures, and he's noticed that too, that they will adjust the way they use an area just so they don't encounter that anymore. And if that happens to be where the best tree is, or where you get the best wind flow through there for your hunt, you've now shot an area that you never even got to hunt.
right. Yeah, true.
and
I
and big
believe it.
big deer are where they are. They're not where you want them to be. A lot of times they're in these little obscure spots. They use areas totally different than some of these other deer. And a lot of times you get one crack. And if you get two or three, consider yourself fortunate, because it usually just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, 100%. I believe that. I got a tree out where one of the places I hunt, and I've killed several good bucks. As a matter of fact, that one behind me, he's one of them. I got one over there and another one over there. I've killed them all out of that same tree. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that is a great tree. But this year I did notice, I think they were kind of moving around away from that. And so it may be time to adjust that for this next season and move out of that spot. Even I think sometimes if you go another 20, 30 yards
Hmm.
with different directions, then you're kind of surprising them again. So yeah, they definitely pick
Yeah.
up stuff and they will avoid areas for sure.
You can definitely change their habits just from your presence, for
Yes, sir.
sure.
Yes, sir. So, all right. So, tell us how this day went, sir. When you
Well,
killed this
so
buck.
we kind of have to go back in time a little bit.
Okay.
I had not
Take us on back, Robert. Take us on back.
I had not seen this particular deer before. I don't believe. I'm pretty fortunate. I can drive through my hunting area daily if I leave work early enough. And the crop rotation was good that year. There was more beans than corn, and I just didn't see anything the whole summer. The whole uh, from I usually cruise it pretty hard from early July through late August. It kind of shuts off there mid August, where you don't really see much. And I seen one shooter all summer long, and really was losing hope at at killing the deer I knew anyway.
Right.
And which is, for that area, I should there should be 5 or 6 shooters around there generally, something over 130, mature, and I just wasn't seeing it. And then we had talked earlier, I'd been having some health issues and knew that my season was going to be short. And just from, for you guys listening, if you're getting older, if you think there's something wrong with you, you need to go to the doctor. Because if you don't feel right, that's your inner self saying, "Hey, dude, go get yourself checked out." Uh, thank God, nothing was terribly wrong with me. I did end up having my thyroid cut out. That sidelined me for 3 weeks probably. Right around the end of or mid December, and just never got back out. I like hunting that late season too, but I knew that wasn't going to happen this year. So hadn't really found anything, and right before the season started, I thought, I'm going
Hold
to
on,
go.
let me pause you 1 second. So,
Okay.
how's your health now? Are you doing all
Oh,
right?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I had a tumor on both sides of my thyroid. They cut half of it out. I still have a very small one on the other side. And my doctor said, a lot of times once you cut the big side out, the little side doesn't really do a whole lot. It's benign, so no worries there. He said, if it gets to be an issue later on, starts getting big, we can cut it out and go from there. He said, but you probably ought to keep half your thyroid if you can.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
Good. Glad to hear you're doing better, man.
yeah,
That's good.
and it's a lot of mental stuff in there too.
Yeah.
And I'm just a deer hunter at heart. I have a hard time not shooting does.
Yeah.
So if I can get on a pretty good family group of does, I might just go shoot them instead of hunting a buck.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
I you know
My
I,
I love those. My wife does daycare, and
yeah.
those kids all eat deer meat all year long, and so I fill my freezer. I try to get at least one good buck, but I'm gonna get me if the Lord blesses me, I'm gonna get me at least 3 does probably to throw in
Yeah.
them freezers to supply us for the year. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm a doe killer too. I like them.
I like eating them. Yeah, that's first and foremost. We're gonna get some back straps and we're gonna hunt some bucks too. But
Yes, sir.
you let that right doe come by, she's gonna have a bad day.
Yeah, that's right. Not gonna end well for her.
That's right. But
Yeah.
anyway, I had glassed this hilltop. It was a pasture. They'd come out there and eat weeds and whatnot, and I had seen a good buck down in there through the binoculars a couple times and couldn't really tell what he was. And historically, I had some good encounters in that area, so that was pretty much my best play, opening day anyway. And I thought, well, the wind was right. We're gonna give this a shot and see what happens. And I had sent you a picture of another deer I had encountered in there that had a really cool flyer off the side.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember that. Yep.
I suspect he was a 3-year-old when I first got that video. And I was looking forward to seeing him again because that was 2 years ago now. And was hoping I could bump into him again. So
Right.
opening day comes along. I'm not real sure where these deer are coming out at. So I get a early start, head down through there and kind of get my bearings of where I think he was when I seen him last. Walk down in the woods, and it's pretty evident where these deer are coming out at. So I get set up, and I think I probably started hunting about 2 o'clock that day. Night, it's pretty warm. I think it was upper 70s, and didn't see a whole lot. It starts getting dark, and I'm contemplating getting down, and just thinking it ain't going to happen. I don't know, 15 minutes left. And in the early season, if I can, you can always move out to the field edge and get yourself another 30 minutes,
Yeah.
when all that foliage is on. So, I'm not too far from the edge, so I'm thinking I'm kicking that around, and about that time I see a 1.5-year-old buck coming up the hill there. I'm like, all right, here we go, and
Got
then
some movement.
yeah, so then he gets by me, and he's gonna go probably 60 yards before he can get my wind. The thermals have kind of started pushing things around a little bit. It's wind's starting to get a little squirrely. And I thought, well, we'll see what happens. He's not moving real fast, so I'm not real worried about him. Here comes a 2.5-year-old. Same story. I mean, they're all coming 10 yards from the stand. I don't like to set up that close, but that's just kind of what happened.
Yeah.
And the next buck by is the flyer buck. And oddly
Oh,
enough, so he's 5.5 now, probably, best I can figure. And he really hadn't grown that much.
hmm.
He might have been 130, 135, but he'd got some mass, but his tine length hadn't done much more. But his flyer has turned into like a doorknob looking thing.
Yeah.
And I recognize him right off the bat, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna shoot you. so
Right.
so I get drawn back, and he's 10 yards from the stand, and I'm settling in, and I hear just this crash from where these deer have been coming from, and I look over, and the buck I end up shooting he's got his rack just buried into a dead tree that the wind has blown over, and he is working this thing over.
Uh-huh.
And I told myself, all right, well, we're going to shoot this one here. We're not going to shoot one at all. So I let back down, and the flyer buck goes by. He's got okay mass. I mean, but he just, after seeing this one, I just thought to myself, yeah, let's see what this guy's got going.
Yeah.
So when he all I can see is the last two tines on each side, the tall stuff. And I thought, oh yeah, we're gonna shoot him right here. So the first buck finally gets my wind, and he snorts. And I'm thinking, well, all right, this is over. It's
Yeah.
it
Gosh,
was
daddy.
a nice hunt, but it's over. And that big deer never paid 1 ounce of attention to that snort, not one.
No kidding.
He kind of looked up, and I think he was so into working that limb over, he just didn't care, because he was already slobbering, and just, you could tell he was starting to feel
Just
it.
riled up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he keeps coming, and I'm like, well, all right, you're within range now, buddy. So it's, you're in trouble. So I get
Yeah.
drawn back, and he's kind of quartering too, which is not one of my favorite shots.
Right.
So he's probably 15 yards at the moment, and he's still moving a little bit, and he kind of turns to the right, gives me just a little bit better shot. First buck snorts again, and now he's kind of coming back to reality. Oh, something might be
All
going
right.
on here. But by then it was too late. I let the arrow fly, and I knew I had the good angle, and he literally ran 12, 15 yards and tipped over. Just, it crushed him. But it was a good hunt.
Yeah, you can't beat that. And that was opening day.
Opening day. That's the first good deer I've killed on opening day ever.
Nice, man. You can't beat that.
Yeah, and
Well, in
that was part of
Missouri,
it too.
we get one buck. You can shoot one buck before rifle season.
Yeah.
So the only, as I shot, actually I shot this one here. I shot him like it was September. It wasn't opening day, but it was probably a couple weeks into it, maybe a week into it. And then I'm like, well, now I can't shoot another buck until at least minimum rifle season,
Yeah.
So I got to sit here a couple months. But that's the time you take some does and whatnot. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it turned out I didn't have another great encounter the rest of the year. And you obviously not going to hunt as hard if you can't kill a buck. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. So I
Yeah.
tried a couple new spots and looked around and, shot my, my fill of does, so we could have some deer meat around the house here. But, I just concentrated on enjoying the season.
Yeah.
Really, that
That's
was, I like to shoot one or two off the ground every year. That's a priority for me, just because that's how I started out. I didn't climb a tree stand for probably 5 years when I started,
no
and
kidding.
I didn't shoot a lot of deer. I think I only killed 2 or 3 deer there in the beginning, but I guarantee you nobody had more fun than I did.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I tell you, my first time out bow hunting, um, I sat on a log, well, a fallen over tree that was probably, I don't know, 6 foot off the ground, I'd say. I didn't have a tree stand or nothing, didn't really know much about them, but I sat on this log and here come this little 6 point buck. And I was like, oh crap. To me at that time, that was like, it might as well have been a 30 point buck. You know what I'm
oh
saying? It
yeah,
was, he's close, and so I drew back and I put one in him. He took off, and I was like, okay, I waited an hour because that's what I was told that was the magic time.
Mhm.
So I waited an hour and dying inside, because I'm like,
Oh yeah,
I kill him. What happened? So I finally get off this fallen tree and on the ground, and I'm walking, and man, all of a sudden I look up and this doe's walking right towards me. And I'm like, oh crap. So I kind of knelt down behind the tree I was next to. I got down behind it and I poked around like this. And I could see her on the other side of another tree. And I thought, man, if she steps out on this right side of that tree, I could probably put an arrow in her off the ground.
yeah,
Nah. So about that time, I seen her step that way, and I was like, she's gonna do it. So I drew back behind that tree, and then I just kind of went out like this, and sure, she stepped out. As soon as she was completely broadside, I had a good shot. I shot her. She didn't go, but maybe 15, 20 yards, and she piled up. And so then I'm like, my first time ever, I got this little buck, and I got this doe. I mean, and that's definitely got me hooked.
oh
But
yeah,
I don't think I've ever shot another deer off the ground with my bow. I've gotten close. I was sneaking up on one time and I got really close and but I couldn't pull it off. But I'm fascinated by that. So when you say that, I'm like, man, I think that's so cool if you can shoot one
oh
off the
yeah.
ground with a bow. Yeah, for
I make
sure.
it a priority that
Yeah, that's
you know
nice.
it lets you know you're still alive and you still got it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That
Yeah, so man, what a great buck, dude. Sounds like you got some really good areas with a lot of deer. My season was kind of like that where it wasn't normal. The whole season I just thought something's weird, something's different. I wasn't seeing the mature bucks that I normally would see in the area.
yeah,
Um, and it wasn't till later in the season. I did shoot a couple does early in the season, but I didn't even see a nice mature buck until probably Novemberish time frame.
yeah,
And then even after that is for the rest of the season they were few and far between. I mean, I say that I did put down two really nice bucks, so I'm saying that, but at the same time I did put ones down, but it just was a different season. It
yeah,
wasn't the normal, and everything happened later. It's kind of wild.
yeah. Your areas do ebb and flow, and mine's no different than anybody else's. There's years that are really good, and there's years you kind of wonder if you're going to shoot it. See a good
Yeah,
one, shoot a good one.
that's kind of where I was at. I was like, man, I've been very lucky the last probably 5 years, and I'm thinking something happened. What's going on? Why? And there was some construction nearby one of the places I hunt, and I kept thinking maybe it's the construction, and I don't really know what it was, but it seemed the more and more people I talked to, I'm definitely not the only one that was having that experience. So it
Yeah,
must have been something in the air or something.
yeah. Well, and you never know. It you could be you get somebody that just hikes through there thinking, oh, well, there's nobody around, and if they're going through when you're not there, you have no idea what's going on unless you see them parked there or run across their tracks or You could have a pack of dogs, or you just never know. You never know. A failed food source. I've had it all happen to me.
Yeah. So
I've,
do you predominantly hunt private land? Do you hunt any public land?
these days, it's normally private, especially in Missouri. There's just so many people. I don't want to kill a deer that bad. It's
Yeah.
so
It's definitely a struggle. Like I told you earlier, I've been the last couple years, I've been more and more getting into mobile hunting and exploring different conservation areas. And I mean, there's a lot of hunters in Missouri, and there's a lot of out of staters in Missouri. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's when you go to these places, there's definitely some traffic there.
yeah. And I didn't grow up hunting Missouri, so that was a little different for me. I was very blessed to grow up hunting Kansas before it was ruined.
Yeah,
And I will argue ruined with anybody because it was. Uh,
yeah,
the public hunting in Kansas back in the 80s, and I'll even throw in the early 90s, was better than most managed ranches today.
wow,
Just amazing. I'm not going to tell you there's a book deer behind every tree, but you could see a Boone and Crockett most years.
nice.
Now, whether you got a shot or not, that's a totally different story. And
So what do you think happened? What do you think when you say ruined it?
money. There's just way too many hunters. Um, it's there's really no place in Kansas that you can't go with three guys with rifles and not drive hunt and shoot what you want to shoot. And there's some big timber in Kansas too, that you wouldn't necessarily think of doing that. But once you learn how the deer use the area, where they stay, how they escape, with a little bit of planning, you can do about anything you want.
Yeah,
And they only grow so fast.
yep,
They've played the game with, well, we capped the number of tags. Well, you know, if it's at the carrying capacity of the hunters, you didn't cap anything.
right,
You shouldn't. I mean, I used to hunt public a lot. This deer here that's a public land deer, and it got to where you could not go and get away from the crowds, and that is another problem with Kansas is you're not going to outwalk anybody because there's
yeah.
there's a
Serious hunters.
yeah there's a section road every mile for the most part, so you're not going to outwalk anybody.
Yeah. So in Missouri, they're I don't know if you got that ballot they sent out, but they're questioning like out of state, making it harder for people from out of state to hunt in Missouri. There were several different questions on there. What are your thoughts on that as far as the out of staters just in Missouri?
I do some out of state hunts myself, and like I get it. You want to go somewhere else. It's part of being American. You want to go try new stuff, new
Yeah,
places and whatnot, but uh you don't want to ruin what you have at home for the dollars.
right,
It's not worth it. Uh if they could definitely cut back, that would be great. Uh both states for that matter, Kansas and Missouri. I still hunt Kansas. I bought a lifetime license before I moved, and but I really don't go deer hunting over there anymore unless I go with a family member, and it's more to hang out with them than it is to chase big deer.
right, right. Yeah, I got a lot of buddies. I do have buddies that come here and hunt, and I don't mind out of staters at all. You know what I'm saying? It's not, but I do feel like it's maybe getting to a point where they need to come up with that kind of like they do in Iowa or whatever, and come up with that lottery system, and
Yeah,
maybe just not so many. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Well, and
Whatever the law allows is what it allows, and then we deal with it. And I mean, like I said, I'll go hunt with them guys right next to them, and no problem at all. But there's
yeah,
definitely more and more coming because I think Missouri is one of the actual cheaper states. I think as far as out of state tags and
it
whatnot.
is. And I think, places like Kansas and Missouri that don't have elk or they don't have moose, we got big deer,
Yeah,
and we need to treat those just like they are those coveted species. And if you want to come play, you're going to have to pay. It's
yeah,
just the way it is. You can't hardly go kill a cow anywhere for under $700 now for a tag.
right.
And uh,
At
they
Colorado, they just introduced that. It's a lottery system now. It used to be you could buy a public, an out of state tag and go
Mhm.
hunt public ground and whatnot. Now you got to put in for it and whatever. I just think at some point, like you just said, at some point you have to cut it off to where you're saving some of the species, the good species. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You can't wipe them out. I mean, look at just like you mentioned elk in Missouri. I mean, Missouri used to be filled with elk at one time,
yeah,
and then they basically were extinct. Now they're bringing them back where we actually have an elk season, but I think they only give out 10 tags if I
yeah,
remember right,
yeah. It's a
something like
handful. It's
that.
not very many.
Yeah, but
And
it's growing and it's getting better, so that's a good
yeah,
sign.
yeah. It'd be like hitting a lottery to ever get one of those tags. But
Yeah, for
I'll throw my
sure.
name in.
Yeah, if
Like
I get
I'd
an
like to go.
opportunity, I'm gonna throw my name in the hat. Why not? All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Robert, man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm gonna show off your buck one more time. I mean, that's a great buck, great shot. I love the
appreciate it.
story. Um, Great talking to you for sure, man. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us, and definitely some good advice. Especially when we're getting older as men and whatnot. I'll speak on the men. I don't know about the women, but as far as the men go, I mean, you start feeling some kind of way, you need to get checked out, man, because
Yeah,
stuff creeps up on you. I told you earlier, I've had some health issues the last few years, and man, it really changes everything for you. But if you don't get it soon, as soon as you can, it could just do nothing but get worse. So
that's
just like
right.
Robert said, I mean, you start feeling some kind of way, guys, mentally, physically, or whatever. Don't be afraid to reach out to a doctor. Don't be afraid to reach out to a friend. Something, we're all in this together, and we want to get out of here together. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
definitely reach out. That was great advice. I appreciate you sharing that with us for sure, and a little bit of your health concerns and stuff. That was super nice of you, man. So
Yeah, no
appreciate
problem. Anytime I can help somebody else, I got no problem with it, whether it's in life or hunting or if you got a flat tire on the side of the road, it's
Yeah, that's you don't find that a lot anymore. I feel like in the hunting industry, there's a lot of it, but outside of that, I don't feel like it's the same. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
definitely a different
Um,
world than what we grew up in.
yes, sir. That's
Not
a
for the
hundred
better.
percent. Well, Robert, appreciate it. Great story, man. I loved having you on. You're just down the road. We could get together and shoot bows and BS anytime, man. I'm always here and available. So if you ever want to do that and you want to check out that Buzzard Roost saddle and get your butt in it, man, and you're more than welcome to. And look forward to definitely seeing you on May 17th for the event and or the get together rather. And yeah, just thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, no problem. We'll definitely get together, and I appreciate the invite. It was fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh, Thank you all for watching and tuning in and subscribing and liking. And if you could continue doing that, that'd be great. Hoping to have we got some more great people lined up with some great stories coming up in the near future. So definitely looking forward to that. I think we got Benny from Old Buzzard Roost. We were chatting yesterday and we talking about getting him on here and I seen that his son just tagged out for turkey season down there in Louisiana. He got him his first two birds, I believe it was his first, but he's already tagged out. And so I thought, man, it might be a good idea to get old Benny on here with his boy and let's hear about this turkey hunting. So that may be coming up real soon, but Thank you all very much for tuning in. Like I said, if you could like and subscribe and share this channel, that'd be great, man. And I hope you enjoy yourself. I hope you were entertaining and keep your attention. So, but other than that, thank you again, man. Appreciate you, everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Take care, Troy.
You have to shoot your bows.